Good afternoon. Please silence all electronic devices for the duration of the meeting. I'm Melanie Williams, and I'm the Operations and Safety Committee Chair. Welcome to the August 21st, 2023 Operations and Safety Committee meeting. The meeting format is hybrid. Quorum is physically present at the HART Administrative Office, 1201 East 7th Avenue, Florida Conference Room, and the rest of the board members are participating via communication media technology. We'll move right on to public comments. Ms. Jackson, do we have anyone available for comments?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. All right. Oh,
May I
I'm
prefer
sorry, I
a
need
roll
to
call
back
vote?
up. And please, thank you very much. Thank you. Would you please do a roll call? Thank you.
Committee Member Kemp? Committee Member Knight?
Present.
Committee Member Schisler?
Here.
Committee Chair Williams?
I'm present. Thank you.
You do have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, so we do have a quorum, and we have no public comment at this point. We'll move forward for an approval of approval of meeting minutes for June 26, 2023, Operations and Safety Committee meeting. Are there any questions or comments?
Second.
Thank you. Danielle, will you? Oh, all in? Is that?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye, thank you.
All opposed, say nay.
Thank you. Okay, we will move to our transit development plan. We have a presentation that will be up on August 2023 mark. Justin Willis, Director of Planning and Scheduling, you're recognized to present.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Committee members, Chair, and Mr. Dranville. Justin Willis, Director of Planning and Scheduling, with a very brief update on the Transit Development Annual Progress Report. Just a quick overview. You all are familiar with the Transit Development Plan. We did our major update last year, so the next 4 years, as shown on this slide, are just minor updates or annual progress reports, and we're in the process of updating that draft to be included in the board packet once this moves to the full board. What's in a TDP progress report? We're updating past year's accomplishments, doing some minor revisions to the budget and the service levels and unfunded needs, revising the implementation program for the 10th year, and updating those projects. One of the items we're updating is the 10-year service operating costs, adjusting for just basically changes in the financial picture over the last year. We then look at our funded and unfunded needs. This shows the heavy maintenance facility, some CNG and diesel replacements, paratransit vans, streetcar rebuilds, and the CAT AVL project you all are familiar with. Some of those unfunded needs, primarily service-related, frequency improvements, new bus service, local and express, on-demand services, BRT corridors, and the streetcar extension project, and the capital needs, a lot of bus stop transit center needs, fare replacement, transit center exploration in some of our less served areas, rehabilitation of existing centers, and that sort of thing. Those frequency needs, the top 4 on our list to improve from 30-minute service are routes 12 on 22nd Street, Route 16 on Waters Avenue, 39 on Bush Boulevard, 45 in the University area in West Shore, and then most of our hourly services we'd like to bring back to 30 minutes, several of which were pre-COVID, and it's just a lot more labor intensive to bring those services back, and the financial burden is also significant to ramp up the service levels back to where they were. The premium services, the one that's on the radar for moving up is the Florida BRT project. That is the one that we're still pursuing in the design phase, looking for funding to implement that project, and then we need to do additional studies on additional BRT corridors to consider for the future. And then, of course, the streetcar extension line, the city is still looking for their local match to the state funding and federal funding that would be involved in moving that project ahead. Those express services touch all parts of the county, South County, East County, Northwest, and even in the city of Tampa, there's a few express services we have in our unfunded plan. New local services are primarily associated with, well, they're pretty spread out as well. So you've got Main Street and Sly Avenue in the city, Causeway and Lumsden in the Brandon area, Ehrlich Bears in the north and northwest, and Bloomingdale Avenue in the Fishhawk, Bloomingdale area. On-demand service is also pretty much countywide. We have those 4 specific areas identified there, and those look really to supplement our regional hourly express services so that we can kind of feed more passengers for their first mile, last mile trips to where we've got established a frequent regional service. So our next steps are just getting committee input and board input. We're going to updating the financial plan now, updating our accomplishments and strategic priorities, and our service and capital needs. And that concludes the presentation. The motion.
Thank you, Mr. Willets.
The motion would be to recommend the HART Board of Directors approve the FY 24 to 33 Transit Development Plan Annual Progress Report to submit to the FDOT after the full board.
Make a motion, pass it on.
Thank you.
Full
Are there any
board.
questions? Yes. Oh, yes. All right. Ms. Jackson, will you take a vote for us, please?
Committeemember Knight,
Yes.
Committeemember Schisler,
Yes.
and Committee Chair Williams.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, okay, we'll go back to our operations and maintenance monthly metrics report, June and July 2023. We'll hear from Mr. Bobby Edwards, Director of Transportation, Mr. Nicholas Goulburn, Director of Fleet Maintenance, Mr. Richard Campbell, Chief Safety Officer, and Mr. Edwards, you're recognized to start the presentation. Thanks.
All right, good afternoon, Chair, committee members, Mr. Dranville. I'll jump right into it. Looking at our ridership, we've pretty much been stabilized around the 1,049,000. I think last month, for May, we were at 1,060,000. And as school is ramping back up as it did last week, we should see an increase as we start looking at August and September. Looking here is our 6-month trend on fixed ridership. You'll see June was at 888,000 and July was at 870,000. And again, we expect for those to ramp up for the next month or 2. Then we take a look at our June and July average weekly daily ridership. That's where we see for June and July, we see those top 5 routes that we mentioned mostly as carrying the most of our passengers. And then here, as we look at on-time performance, for June and July, we averaged around 75% on-time performance, where our goal is 77%, which is national average for 77% on that. Coming here to the top 5 ridership routes that we look at versus our OTP, committee member Ms. Williams. I know that you asked last month, how do we think outside the box and how do we address some of these routes that has the heavy ridership to increase on-time performance or to increase the frequency on these routes that would increase on-time performance. There are 2 initiatives that we're looking at, and I wanted to bring those back to you. One is something that we call Pass Back. We're looking to try a pilot on that within the next month or so. And not to go into too many details, but basically we believe that this will increase the efficiency of we may start with the Route 6. We may start with Route 6 and test it out to see if it works. Basically using an extra operator to pass back at a transit center, whereas the buses may come in late due to traffic and things like that. But due to operators needing to take breaks and things, the bus never stops completely. There's another operator that's waiting, and they just get on the bus, and the bus keeps moving. So the customer constantly sees the bus moving, so we can try to keep it on time as much as possible. And another initiative that we're discussing now is the retiree program. We talked about a lot of our employees that have left us after 20 and 25 years. Could we potentially bring some of that skill back on a part-time basis? So those are two initiatives that we're working on. We believe that those two would help us from that standpoint.
Thank you.
All right. And then it's just our 6-month system-wide trend by mode. As we look at OTP and streetcars sitting at 99%, paratransit has went back up, sitting at 96%, and fixed route is sitting at 75.5%. Then for the month of July, we completed 99.66% of our trips, only missing 0.34% of all of our scheduled trips. That concludes the ops portion. Any questions?
Director Knight.
Yeah, thank you. What was the miss trips? What, that a small fraction, what was it?
Yes, sir. That's 0.34. That's not, I mean, in essence, we completed 99, almost 100% of our trips, only a less than 1% of what we missed of the trips that we ran. So if you're looking at numbers at 43,000 trips that were completed, we only missed 151, and 26% of those, or 9% of those, were partial.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Ms. Edwards.
All right, Nick?
Good afternoon, Chair, members of committee, Mr. Drybell. My name is Nicholas Goldborn. I'm the interim director of maintenance. I'll be presenting your June and July maintenance metrics report. Our preventive maintenance program remains compliant with both FDOT and FTA standards. We completed 98% of our inspections in June and 92% in July. For both months, our inspections were completed on time and at 100% compliance. For system reliability, we saw a decrease for June to 10,000 miles between failures, and in July we went down again to 8,229 miles between failures. The pattern is typical for summertime, which I'm going to expand on a little further. So it's been a real hot summer. That's no. Some of our systems are reliant upon dissipating heat because they generate a lot of heat. And as the ambient temperature increases, it becomes harder for these systems to stay cool. Our climate control complaints went from 9 in May to 51 in July. And that's just one of the systems that we saw a lot of issues with. Our engine systems, transmission, tire failures all increased. And you can see where we graphed the increase in system failures and related it back to the ambient temperatures for Tampa in the previous months. And there's a direct correlation between the number of failures we're seeing and the increase in the temperatures. Mr. Dale Smith, our facilities director, will present an update on the facilities portion. If you have any questions on the maintenance, fleet maintenance portion, I'll take those now, or we can transfer to Mr. Smith.
Good afternoon, Chair, committee members, Mr. Drainville. Dale Smith, Director of Facility Maintenance. I just have a brief slide for you to give you an update. During the August 7th board meeting, there were some questions on how HART handles emergency or immediate repairs to our equipment. I just wanted to assure you that when these requests come in, we give them a priority. We determine whether an outside vendor will be needed or whether we can do the repair with our in-house labor. And typically our only delays are trying to get on a schedule for a vendor or waiting parts. Sometimes with supply chain issues, which are still out there, it may take us a couple of weeks to get parts delivered and trucked down to us. But we do have a couple of examples of some repairs we made. The chiller for the heavy maintenance building was hit with a lightning strike, caused some pretty serious damage on it. We were able to get that repaired, and it's back in operation now. Some of the other things we did to provide an added level of security in our inventory area, we added some cameras and we're using clear trash bags. So both of these items we feel like will help our security levels. And I hope this has answered any questions. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't have a question, but I do want to say thank you. I got feedback on the chillers and different aspects, and I came by, you guys were, every employee was engaged. They were trying to do everything possible to get the chillers back on, and understanding it was associated with lightning, and then also get the cameras and the trash bags and so forth. I just want to commend you and the entire team for the follow-up and the rapid handling of getting this care for the employees and for the busing system. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, Board members, Mr. Drainville. My name is Richard Campbell. I'm the Chief Safety Officer, and I'll be reporting the safety metrics for June and July. For the month of June, we had 5 injuries reported, 3 safety events, and 2 assaults. For the month of July, we had 2 injury reported, 3 safety events, and 1 assault reported. This metric right here shows the NTD, so the National Transit Database, as we report through our PTASP. As you can see, for the month of June, we had a slight uptick to 0.93, and in the month of July, a slight downtick of 0.37. For the fixed route, you can see for the month of June and July, both staying static about 0.56 and 0.55. So that 0.5 is our baseline that the PTASP requires us to set a baseline, and that's the metric we've set for ourselves. For paratransit, we didn't have any reports in June, and we had 1 injury reported for the month of July. And then for streetcar, the month of June, we had 1 safety event reported, and for the month of July, we had 2 safety events reported. So Chair, you had requested in the last meeting a little bit of information on preventable and non-preventable accidents. So prefacing preventable and non-preventable, just for the understanding of the committee, a preventable is not necessarily determining the fault. So what happens is in a preventable, as a professional operator, you're required to do above and beyond what your average individual may do. So a preventable, the other person may be cited, but we still receive a preventable because we didn't do all the things that we're required to do in the scope to prevent this accident. So for the month of June, we had 34 non-preventables. That means that we were either hit or not only not charged, but the other person was guilty of the accident. We had 11 preventables and 5 incidental contact. So an incidental contact is considered a preventable on our part, but there was damage based on the contract of less than $500. So to give you an example, maybe an individual got too close to a bus stop sign and hit a mirror. They may have cracked it or scratched it, not causing much damage, but it's still an accident. For the month of July, we were involved in 15 non-preventable accidents, 4 preventable accidents, and 9 incidental contacts. Any questions? Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did have a question about the assaults. Is everyone okay?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So for the month of June, 1 individual a customer broke the glass on the door, so aggravated, whatever the case may be.
Okay.
And the other one was a verbal. So we do still categorize that, but even though it wasn't a physical assault.
Thank you. Director Knight, you're recognized. Mr. Campbell, I believe you had another question.
I apologize. Yes, sir.
Real quick, the broken glass, that's where the driver sit, is not plexiglass?
No, it was the door.
The door?
I apologize, the door. So the front door, so sometimes an individual is intoxicated or agitated or whatever the case may be, and if they're not able to ride or they're just, for whatever reason, sometimes an individual will kick the glass or punch the glass, and I'm talking about the front door.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our operations and safety presentation. Any questions at this point? Thank you. We will move to 6A, our recommendations for our HART Board Workshop at the July 17th, 2023 meeting, Board of Directors Workshop on legal and governance structure. The board members received a presentation on systemic employee issues and legal and governance structure by David Adams. At the workshop, the board members requested that the recommendations be itemized and presented to the committee review. It is provided in your packets under Section 6. Comments from HART staff are also included in the chart. The next steps are to review the comments, create an action plan with an implementation time for the board's approval. Ms. Mandel, do you have any comments on this action?
I think this was really just brought forward for you to, for the committee to know where we are in the process. We actually are meeting this afternoon with staff to go over some of the board policies. I don't know that we have a completed timeline as such, but we there's two portions of this that needs to come forward. One is specifically the general counsel policy provisions, and that's gonna come probably sooner rather than later, and that will be handled by internal staff and potentially Mr. Adams. That will not be within general counsel's purview since we serve currently as your general counsel to avoid any conflict. But as it relates to other policies and the discussion that has occurred, we are working through those policy changes, and we'll be bringing those forward, and starting with committee review as soon as we have that opportunity.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving to information. In your packets under tab 7, please find the informational update on the heavy maintenance facility project status, which we've talked about quite a bit today, so thank you, Mr. Drainville.
Committee Chair? Oh, I apologize. Committee Chair, we did have another presentation on the August 2023
Okay.
service changes. Is it okay if staff presents that, or the service markup?
Yes, thank you.
Of course.
My apologies. I don't.
Justin Willits.
Thank you, Mr. Willis, I appreciate it.
Sure, it'll be very brief. The August 2023 markup went into effect yesterday for Sunday and went live today for the weekday service. Very minimal changes, a little bit of layover at the airport on Route 10 was the minor scheduling change there. Similarly, Route 16, we needed to add a vehicle back in there. Some congestion on Waters was preventing us from delivering that service on time and efficient as we'd like to, so we needed to incorporate an additional vehicle to make that, especially with school coming back. We added a stop pair on Himes at MLK that is consistent with some of the previous changes that we've put in place and in prior markups. And then we formalized these two permanent detours into the actual schedule. The Route 30 is now serving Cypress Street with the weekend pattern now on the weekday. Social Security Administration on Frontage Road south of Laurel Street has closed. That was the main justification for that routing over many, many years. So that was a welcome change for the continuity of the route. And then the Route 12 is on a permanent detour, avoiding Cass Street and serving Encore. As it builds out with more affordable units and more transit supportive density, we've thought that not only avoiding the signalization issues on Cass Street that slow us down tremendously, but serving the residents of the Encore community more directly was a much better solution long-term. So that's been formalized in this markup as well. And that's it. Thank you very much. Any questions? Let me know.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. Okay, moving to information. In your packets under tab 7, please find the informational update on the heavy maintenance facility project status. HART project manager is available to answer any questions the committee members may have. Any questions on the heavy maintenance building? All right, old business? Old business, new business? Okay, hearing none, the meeting is adjourned.